Most people think their greatest debt is financial. They're wrong. Your greatest debt is the version of yourself that was supposed to be here by now. You spent the last 5 years operating on the assumption that you could just opt in to the greatness whenever you finally felt like it. You treated your 20s like a practice round, a consequence-free zone where Saturday nights could be traded for chemical highs and $4,000 could be burned just to look like someone you haven't actually become yet. You aren't just behind, you are functionally obsolete. The version of you that should have existed today, the one with the instincts, the capital, and the lead, have been murdered by the version of you that wanted to fit in. You've arrived at the prime of your life with the skills of a beginner and the ego of a master, and the world is about to show you exactly how much that mismatch costs. The most dangerous lie you've ever told yourself is that you have time. You operate on the delusion that your prime is a static location. You think you can just show up whenever you're ready and claim your seat. But your prime is a wasted asset. Life doesn't wait on your epiphany, it outpasses it. You viewed success as a finish line that stays put, but it's a moving target that accelerates every time you hesitate. Every Saturday you spent at the bar, the distance between where you are and where you were supposed to be didn't just grow, it doubled. In your early 20s, you have a biological leverage. You have the energy to work 20 hours, the ego to fail 1,000 times, and a brain that learns faster than it ever will again. That was your cheat code. That was your head start. By waiting, you didn't just lose days on a calendar. You lost the version of yourself that was built to win this game. You are trying to start the climb now with a brain that's already tired and a spirit that's already heavy. By delaying, you didn't just miss the work, you missed the compounding. You missed 5 years of evolution that would have just made you seasoned enough to handle the opportunities of today. You waited until the gates started closing to finally decide you wanted to play, and now you're forced to enter the market on hard mode. You didn't just lose 5 years, you lost your edge. And let's be brutally honest about where the edge went. You didn't just lose it to bad luck, you auctioned it off. You took those 1,825 days of high-octane potential and you liquidated them for a temporary chemical high, trading your future's clarity for a Saturday night you can barely even remember. We need to talk about the weekends. You called it unwinding? You called it a well-deserved break? But if you look over the last 5 years, those Saturday nights weren't a reward. They were a heist. You were the victim, and you were also the one holding the bag. See, the alcohol tax isn't the price of the bottle or the $100 bar tab. This is the cheap part. The real tax is a 72-hour momentum kill. When you drink on a Friday night, you aren't just losing 4 hours at the bar, you're signing away the Saturday morning clarity. You are deleting the Sunday vision session. You are essentially taking the only time you actually own outside of your 9 to 5 and you are setting it on fire. While the person you were jealous of was waking up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning to build, you were waking up at 1 p.m. looking for your water bottle and a reason to feel human again. You traded your flow state for a chemical blur. You traded the peak cognitive performance of your 20s for a sense of belonging in a room full of people who are just as stuck as you are. Smart people love to think they can outrun the biology of a hangover. You think your high IQ means you can catch up on Monday? But Monday is for your boss. Saturday and Sunday were for you. By the time your brain fog cleared on Tuesday afternoon, you have already lost the war for that week. You spent 5 years in a cycle of building momentum Wednesday to Friday, destroying it Friday night, and spending Monday recovering. You didn't just lose the hours, you lost the willpower. Every time you choose the drink over the work, you are telling your subconscious that your future isn't worth the sacrifice. You are training yourself to be a consumer instead of a creator. You are using your intelligence to justify your stagnation. It wasn't networking, it was just the way to feel successful without having to do the work of being successful. You bought a headache for the price of a career. But the alcohol tax was only the entry fee. The time you spent in the bloor was matched by the money you spent to stay there. You didn't just burn your hours, you burned the seed capital, the very money that was supposed to buy your way out of your life you currently tolerating. You ever wonder why $4,000 feels like nothing to you right now? It's because you've spent the last 5 years devaluing your own labor. You've been paying social rent, a tax you voluntarily handed over to a world that doesn't care if you succeed or starve. Every time you bought a round of drinks to feel like the man, every time you swiped for a designer label to prove you weren't broke, and every time you upgraded your lifestyle for an apartment you didn't need, you weren't just buying products, you were buying a mask. You were terrified that if you didn't look successful, people would realize that you're actually just a beginner. So you spend your seed capital. That $4,000 feels like nothing today because it's just a maintenance money now. It's rent, it's groceries, it's car payment. But 5 years ago, that $4,000 was a camera, a workspace, and a breathing room to build your own empire. It was the buy-in for the game you claim you want to play. Instead of using that money to buy your freedom, you used it to buy the appearance of freedom. Think about the math of the stupid spend. It's not just the price on a tag, it's the hours of your life you traded to earn that money. It's the years of growth that money would have generated if you've just invested it in yourself. You didn't just spend a few $100s on a night out, you spent the 2030 version of yourself's retirement. You were so busy trying to impress people who currently stand in the exact same place they were 5 years ago. You paid a premium to fit into a circle that was designed to keep you average. You used your intelligence to navigate a consumer trap, and you fell for it because your ego was louder than your ambition. And now you're looking at your bank account wondering why the engine won't turn over. It won't turn over because you burned the fuel trying to keep lights on for a show that nobody was watching. Okay, the money is just the paper, but the real theft happened in your character. While you were busy financing a lifestyle you hadn't earned, you were ignoring a massive debt growing in your skill set. You weren't just losing cash, you were losing your freedom. Right now, there is a ghost haunting your room. It's a version of you that didn't go to the bar. The version of you that didn't buy the mask. The version that decided to be uncool in 2021 so they could be unstoppable today. This ghost isn't smarter than you, and they don't have more talent than you. They just have 1,825 more days of data. While you were protecting your ego, they were destroying theirs. Success in any field requires a mandatory incompetence tax. It is 10,000 mistakes you have to make before you develop an intuition. By starting today, you aren't just behind on the money, you're behind on the judgment. You're an amateur in the world where your peers have already developed the calluses, the instincts, and the quiet confidence that only comes from a half a decade of being in the dirt. You look at people half as intelligent as you who are 10 times more successful, and it burns. You tell yourself you are smarter than them, and you might be, but they have something you can't think your way into. They didn't beat you with IQ, they beat you with the calendar. They were brave enough to look like the fools 5 years ago. They were willing to produce the bad work and take the no's, while you were busy being the smartest person in a room at a party that didn't matter. You were standing on the sidelines, preparing, while they have been on the field, getting hit. Now they have a muscle memory, and you just have a very sophisticated theory on how the game should be played. Every Saturday you traded for a drink was a day you didn't spend building your intuition bank. You missed the accidental discoveries, you missed the lucky breaks that only happen when you have been standing in the rain for 5 years straight. The most painful part isn't that you are late, it's that the version of you that could have handled the success you want today doesn't exist yet. You've arrived at the finish line of your 20s with the potential of a beginner and the expectations of a master. You don't just lose time, you lost your leverage. The most brutal part isn't what you've lost, it's what the world has become while you were away. You assumed the opportunity would be sitting there waiting for you, but the world didn't wait. The market matured, the competition got smarter, and the easy mode of your life has officially expired. You are no longer fighting your own procrastination, you're fighting the world that has already a 5-year head start. The gap is widening every single hour, and that is why you no longer have the luxury of mourning. This is the part where we stop looking at the dead. The 2021 version of you is gone. He is a memory, and he isn't coming back to save you. You can't get the drinks back, you can't get stupid pants back, and you certainly can't get the last 1,825 days back. If you spend the next 12 months crying about the last 5 years, you've just wasted 6. You have to realize that right now, in this moment, you are still early compared to the person you will be in 2030. If you don't start today, messy, late, behind, you will find yourself in the same exact script 5 years from now. You will be sitting in a room even further behind, wondering why $10,000 feels like nothing. The late start only becomes a tragedy if you let it become a never start. The weight of the missed lid is heavy, but you have to carry it. You have to be willing to be the oldest beginner in the room. You have to be willing to work twice as hard to catch the train that is already leaving the station. Forgive your past self for the distractions, forgive the versions of you that needed the validation, but do not let that forgiveness become the permission to stay still. The best time to plant the tree was 5 years ago. The second best time is before the sun goes down today. The ghost of who you could have been is watching. The only way to lay that ghost to rest is to become the person he was supposed to be. Once again, thank you everyone for watching till the end. Don't forget to subscribe for more motivational videos. It was Mary with you, it was my pleasure today, and I'll see you in the next one.